Let me ask you something honest. Have you noticed how the price of chicken feed keeps climbing, but your egg basket doesn't? You're doing everything right. Clean coop, fresh water, quality pellets, maybe even oyster shell and supplements. And still, the production feels average at best. Sometimes it even drops for no clear reason. Meanwhile, small-scale farmers in rural Japan are raising hardy, productive flocks while spending almost nothing on commercial feed for much of the year. Not because they starve their birds. Not because they cut corners. But because they build systems that let nature carry most of the weight. And here's the part that surprises most backyard keepers. When chickens eat closer to how they were designed to eat, egg production often increases, not decreases. Today I'm going to show you how they do it. Not theory. Not romantic farm fantasy. Real, practical methods you can apply whether you have 5 hens behind your house or a modest homestead setup. If you're in your 50s, 60s, or beyond, this will matter even more. Because the goal isn't just more eggs. It's fewer feed bags to lift, fewer recurring costs, less physical strain, and a flock that works with your land instead of against it. Let's start with the first shift that changes everything. Tip 1. Build a living forage system instead of feeding from a bag. The biggest difference between high-cost and low-cost egg production isn't fancy feed, it's environment. In Japan, small-scale farmers rotate chickens through different garden sections so the birds feed themselves from the land. They scratch for insects, nibble fast-growing greens, and naturally fertilize the soil, creating a cycle where feed grows beneath their feet. You don't need acres. Divide your backyard into 3 or 4 sections using lightweight movable fencing. Keep chickens in one section for 2 to 3 weeks, just enough to scratch, peck, and fertilize without destroying roots. While that section rests, plant a mix of cover crops, clover for nitrogen, peas for protein, rye or barley for quick growth, and in warmer months, buckwheat, millet, sunflowers, or daikon radish. The roots pull nutrients deep into the soil, while decaying tops provide additional feed. Beginners often leave chickens too long in one spot or plant only one crop. Diversity matters for both soil and bird nutrition. Over one full season, you'll see the soil come alive. Worms, insects, and microbes increase, creating natural feed. Peak forage months can supply over half a flock's diet, reducing commercial feed needs drastically. In winter, dried greens like pumpkin slices or radish tops keep nutrition steady. For seniors, this system is easier on the body than weekly feed bags. Moving fencing takes 15 to 20 minutes. Scattering seeds maybe an hour per rotation. Beyond cost savings, foraging reduces stress, improves hormone balance, and leads to brighter yolks and more consistent laying. This simple shift, letting chickens work with the land instead of against it, is the first step to triple egg production without spending on feed. Tip 2. Multiply nutrition with fermented feed. Once your chickens are foraging, the next secret Japanese farmers use is fermentation. Instead of throwing scraps into a bin or feeding them raw, they ferment vegetables, grains, and kitchen leftovers. The process breaks down tough fibers, boosts probiotics, and makes nutrients far easier for hens to digest. This means your birds get more energy, protein, and vitamins from what you already have. No expensive feed required. Start small. Take kitchen scraps like cabbage leaves, carrot tops, or leftover rice and mix them with a little water in a clean container. Cover loosely and leave for 2 to 3 days at room temperature. You'll notice a pleasant, slightly tangy smell. That's the lactic acid working. This mild fermentation preserves the food, prevents spoilage, and naturally enriches it with beneficial bacteria that improve gut health, immunity, and egg-laying consistency. Feed your hens a handful or 2 of fermented mix daily, alongside their forage. Beginners often make the mistake of overfeeding or using raw scraps, which can attract pests or upset digestion. Also, don't ferment meat or dairy. They spoil too quickly. Seasonal adjustments matter. In winter, when foraging is limited, fermented feed keeps nutrition high and reduces reliance on store-bought grains. This method is surprisingly senior-friendly. You're not hauling heavy bags. You're simply chopping scraps and letting nature do the work. Within a few weeks, you'll notice hens peck more eagerly, energy levels rise, and egg counts improve. Bright yolks and strong shells follow naturally. Fermentation is not just about saving money, it's about amplifying what your flock already eats. When combined with rotation and forage, it forms a resilient system where chickens thrive on what's around them, year-round, with minimal cost. Tip 3. Grow protein-rich insects in your backyard. Japanese farmers know that insects are nature's perfect chicken supplement. High in protein, easy to digest, and loved by hens. Instead of buying expensive mealworms or crickets, they cultivate them at home, turning food scraps and garden waste into living protein. This not only cuts feed costs but boosts egg production naturally. Start with simple black soldier fly larvae or mealworms. Take a shallow container, add leftover vegetable peels, fruit scraps, and a bit of dry bran or sawdust, and keep it in a warm, shaded spot. Within a few days, insects appear and multiply. Chickens adore them, pecking them eagerly, which improves energy and lays consistency. Beginners often make the mistake of overwatering or exposing larvae to direct sun. Both can kill the colony. Monitor moisture and temperature, and rotate small batches rather than one large setup. Feed the insects in small amounts daily. Too many at once can overwhelm the flock or attract pests. Seasonal adjustments are simple. In colder months, keep larvae indoors in a warm cupboard or insulated box to maintain growth. In summer, outdoor trays work fine. For seniors, this system is gentle. Harvesting a handful of larvae requires minimal bending, and it's much lighter than carrying feed bags. Over time, your backyard becomes a self-sustaining source of protein. Chickens forage, eat fermented scraps, and supplement with insects, creating a near-complete natural diet. The payoff is noticeable. Hens grow healthier, more energetic, and lay more consistently. Egg yolks deepen in color, shells strengthen, and overall production can easily triple compared to conventional feeding. Tip 4. Let chickens enrich the soil to grow their own feed. One of the most powerful secrets Japanese farmers use is simple. Chickens are natural fertilizers. Instead of constantly adding commercial supplements, they let their birds work the land, turning it into a living pantry. Every scratch, every peck, and every droppings deposit nutrients that help soil grow crops, weeds, and insects, all of which become future feed. Start by allowing your flock access to garden patches or under trees where some vegetation can grow. You don't need a large area. Even a few hundred square feet, rotated every few weeks, is enough. As chickens move through the space, they scratch the topsoil, uncover insects, eat seeds, and spread manure evenly. Over time, this enriches the soil with nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, creating a self-sustaining loop. Beginners often try to protect the garden too much, keeping birds off for fear of damage. The trick is timing. Allow chickens in after crops have been harvested or on sections seeded with fast-growing cover crops. Don't leave them too long. 2 to 3 weeks is plenty before moving to fresh ground. Senior-friendly adjustments include using lightweight fencing, short walks to inspect rotation areas, and seeding crops that require minimal bending, like clover or leafy greens. Seasonal tweaks help. In summer, fast-growing plants regenerate quickly. In winter, dried mulch and composted scraps keep soil productive. The results are remarkable. Chickens enjoy foraging, soil fertility rises, and plants grow richer and more abundant. Combined with forage, fermented scraps, and insect protein, this method creates a nearly complete, low-cost system that boosts egg production without extra feed. Tip 5. Water management and hydration for maximum egg production. Eggs don't just depend on food, they rely on water. Japanese farmers know that clean, fresh water is a silent multiplier for production. Chickens that are hydrated lay consistently, digest food better, and stay healthier, which directly impacts egg count and yolk quality. Start by providing multiple water sources around the run, especially if you rotate sections. Simple troughs, shallow bowls, or automatic poultry drinkers work. Beginners often underestimate water. A single bowl in one corner is not enough, especially in summer or under full sun. Rotate water stations with the flock's movements to ensure every bird has easy access without overexertion. For seniors, consider lightweight, refillable containers or small automatic systems that reduce daily lifting. Adding a touch of vinegar or electrolytes occasionally can prevent bacterial growth and aid hydration without relying on chemical additives. In winter, prevent freezing by using insulated bowls or keeping water slightly elevated indoors for easy access. Seasonal adjustments matter. During hot months, supplement water with chopped juicy vegetables like cucumber, zucchini, or watermelon rinds. This not only increases hydration but adds natural nutrients. In cold months, break ice gently and offer warm water if possible. Avoid letting birds drink stagnant water. It quickly becomes a source of disease. The benefits are immediate. Hens remain active, forage more effectively, and eggs come with stronger shells and more vibrant yolks. Clean, abundant water supports every other method: fermented feed, forage, insects, and rotation, by ensuring nutrients are fully absorbed. Tip 6. Seasonal crop rotation to sustain feed year-round. One of the quietest but most effective Japanese farming secrets is seasonal crop rotation. Instead of planting the same forage crops all year, they change plants with the seasons, ensuring hens always have access to fresh, nutrient-rich feed while the soil recovers naturally. Start by dividing your rotation plots into at least 3 sections. In spring, plant fast-growing greens like clover, field peas, and ryegrass. These provide protein and nitrogen for both birds and soil. Summer brings millet, buckwheat, sunflowers, and amaranth, which tolerate heat and provide seeds and foliage. In fall, switch to hardy root crops like daikon radish or turnips. Cover crops like vetch or sorghum can protect soil during winter while giving insects to forage. Beginners often plant the same crop repeatedly, which depletes soil nutrients and limits the variety of insects and greens available to chickens. Seasonal rotation keeps soil fertile, encourages insect populations, and balances bird nutrition naturally. For seniors, this system is gentle. You plant in small plots, use raised beds or shallow rows to reduce bending, and let chickens do part of the work by scratching and fertilizing. Portable fencing allows you to control access without heavy lifting. Minimal watering is needed if you match crops to season and local rainfall. The payoff is continuous, cost-free feed. Chickens remain active, nutrient intake improves, and egg production is steady year-round. Over time, the land becomes self-sustaining, richer soil, healthier forage, and a flock that thrives with minimal outside feed. Tip 7. Natural pest and parasite control for healthy hens. Healthy hens lay consistently, and in Japan, small-scale farmers rely on natural methods to keep parasites and pests at bay rather than chemicals. Chickens that forage freely encounter fewer concentrated infestations, and simple rotational strategies prevent buildup of lice, mites, and intestinal worms. Start by rotating your flock through different sections of land every 2 to 3 weeks. This breaks parasite life cycles, as eggs in the soil don't stay long enough to mature. Incorporate deep litter or wood ash lightly in coops for scratching. The fine powder helps deter external pests. Herbs like wormwood, lavender, or rosemary can be added to bedding or scattered near roosting areas. These contain natural compounds that reduce insect activity and provide aromatic enrichment for the birds. Beginners often overclean or use harsh chemicals, which stress hens and strip beneficial microbes. Instead, focus on dry, clean bedding, shaded areas, and letting chickens forage daily. Seasonal adjustments matter. In hot, humid months, increase airflow and sprinkle ash lightly. In cooler months, add a layer of dried leaves or straw to bedding for insulation while maintaining dryness. For seniors, this method reduces physical strain. You're not scrubbing chemicals or lifting heavy sprays, just observing, lightly sprinkling natural deterrents, and rotating birds. Over time, hens are more robust, stress-free, and energetic, producing eggs with thicker shells and richer yolks. This natural approach complements forage, fermented feed, insects, and rotation, creating a resilient system that keeps your flock thriving without costly medicines or feed. Tip 8. Cooperative composting for continuous feed. Japanese farmers maximize efficiency by turning kitchen scraps, garden clippings, and fallen leaves into compost that directly nourishes their chickens' forage areas. This simple loop reduces waste, enriches soil, and creates abundant natural feed without extra cost. Start by collecting vegetable peelings, leftover grains, and garden trimmings in a compost bin. Add a mix of dry materials like straw, leaves, or shredded paper to balance moisture. Over 2 to 4 weeks, microbial activity breaks down the matter into rich, dark compost. Beginners often overwater or pile materials too densely, causing foul smells or slow decomposition. Keep the mix aerated and moderately moist, turning it gently once or twice a week. Once partially composted, spread small amounts in rotation plots for your chickens to scratch through. They will consume insects, seeds, and softened greens within the compost while naturally fertilizing the soil further. In winter, compost can be stored in covered bins and fed gradually, ensuring feed supply remains steady when forage slows. For seniors, this method is manageable. Light turning, scattering, and monitoring require minimal bending or heavy lifting. Over time, composting reduces garden waste, enriches soil, and creates a self-sustaining cycle. What was once discarded becomes nutritious forage, supporting continuous egg production. This strategy integrates seamlessly with foraging, fermented scraps, and insect cultivation, forming a low-cost, high-efficiency system where the land and the chickens work together. Tip 9. Strategic shade and shelter to reduce stress. Stress is a silent egg thief. Japanese farmers know that hens under constant sun, wind, or predators lay less consistently. Providing shade, windbreaks, and safe resting areas keeps chickens calm, healthy, and productive. Start by incorporating trees, shrubs, or simple overhead coverings in your rotation plots. Even lightweight bamboo panels or mesh can create shaded retreats. Hens naturally seek these areas during hot afternoons or sudden storms. Beginners often focus only on fencing and forget microclimates. Without shade, birds overheat, become lethargic, and lay fewer eggs. Windbreaks like dense shrubs or stacked straw bales protect against cold drafts in winter, reducing stress on the flock. In summer, cool, shaded spots encourage foraging without overheating. Seasonal adjustments are simple. Move portable shelters as the sun angle shifts, or provide insulating layers in winter. For seniors, this is gentle work. Lightweight panels, small shrubs, and natural debris require minimal lifting, while the benefits are immediate. Stress-free hens eat better, forage more, and maintain stronger laying cycles. You'll notice egg production steadier, yolks richer, and shells harder. Integrating shade and shelter with forage, fermentation, insect feeding, rotation, and composting completes a natural, low-cost system. Chickens thrive, the land regenerates, and you enjoy a high-yield, low-effort backyard flock. Tip 10. Observe, adjust, and fine-tune for maximum egg output. The last secret is simple but often overlooked: careful observation. Japanese farmers spend just a few minutes each day watching their flock, noting behavior, soil conditions, and plant growth. These small insights guide subtle adjustments that dramatically improve egg production without added cost. Watch how hens interact with forage plots. Are they ignoring certain plants? That may indicate a nutritional gap you can fill with alternative greens or fermented scraps. Notice whether they cluster in shaded areas or avoid others. Adjust shelters and shade accordingly. Soil too dry or compacted? Rotate the flock sooner or add organic matter to maintain a rich, scratchable surface. Beginners often make the mistake of rigid routines, feeding the same scraps or leaving rotation cycles unchanged regardless of conditions. Flexibility is key. Seasonal changes, weather, and flock size all influence how much forage, fermented feed, and insects the hens need. Adjust accordingly. For seniors, this is the most gentle yet impactful method. Observing takes little effort but informs all other practices. When to move the flock, which crops to seed, how to manage compost, and when to supplement feed. It transforms small adjustments into big gains in egg output. Over time, these subtle changes compound. Chickens are calmer, healthier, and consistently productive. Yolk color deepens, shell strength improves, and overall yield can triple compared to conventional feeding. With rotation, forage, fermented feed, insects, compost, shade, and careful observation, you create a fully integrated, natural system that thrives year-round, cost-free, and with minimal physical strain. Now that we've covered the 10 practical methods Japanese farmers use to triple egg production while spending almost nothing on feed, it's time to step back and look at the big picture: sustainability. Systems like this don't just save money, they last. They protect your land, your flock, and your energy, making chicken keeping not a chore but a pleasure that can continue year after year. The first principle is rotation and diversity. Keep moving your flock through different sections of land, and rotate the plants you grow. Seasonal changes keep soil fertile, forage fresh, and insect populations thriving. By diversifying crops and allowing resting periods for each plot, you maintain productivity without exhausting the land. Over time, your garden and forage areas become increasingly self-sustaining. Second, leverage natural cycles. Compost kitchen scraps and garden clippings allow chickens to fertilize the soil and cultivate insects. These steps reduce the need for outside inputs, and the land essentially pays back what you invest. Over the years, soil structure improves, microfauna flourish, and your flock gains more nutrition directly from the environment. Third, focus on low-stress management. Shade, shelter, clean water, and minimal handling go a long way. Stress-free chickens are healthier, lay consistently, and require fewer interventions. For seniors, this is crucial. You can maintain productivity without lifting heavy bags, bending repeatedly, or performing labor-intensive tasks daily. Another principle is observation. Take a few quiet minutes each day to watch your flock, check soil, and see how plants and insects are developing. Tiny adjustments, moving a water source, planting a new cover crop, adjusting compost distribution, can yield surprisingly large improvements. This ongoing mindfulness is how small-scale farmers keep systems efficient over decades. Energy and cost savings compound over time. By relying on forage, fermented scraps, insects, and natural fertilization, your recurring expenses shrink dramatically. Less time hauling feed, less strain on your back, and more eggs without buying anything extra. Finally, embrace flexibility and patience. Nature has its own rhythm. Some seasons may be slower, some faster. By adapting gradually, listening to your land and birds, and maintaining diversity, you create a resilient system that keeps giving. The takeaway: you don't need expensive feed or complex supplements to get abundant eggs. With thoughtful rotation, natural fertilization, fermented nutrition, insect protein, shaded environments, and careful observation, your backyard flock can thrive sustainably year after year. Now I'd love to hear from you. What's the first change you'll make in your flock's routine to try one of these methods? Share your plan in the comments, and if you want more tips on low-cost, high-yield gardening and small-scale farming, subscribe to Golden Garden Days for weekly insights. Your land and your flock will thank you.